27, Standard Test Method for Specific Gravity and Absorption of Coarse Aggregate. This method covers the determination of specific gravity and absorption of coarse aggregate. Since bulk specific gravity and absorption are the values commonly used in concrete mix design, we will confine this demonstration to those items. Equipment needed for this test includes a scale or balance readable and accurate to 0.05% of the sample weight within the range of this test, or 0.5 grams, whichever is greater. The scale or balance should have a suitable apparatus for suspending a sample container in water from the center of the weighing platform or pan. A sample container, a basket of 3.35 millimeters or finer wire mesh, or a bucket of approximately equal breadth and height with a capacity of from 4 to 7 liters for aggregate samples up to 1.5 inches nominal maximum size. For testing larger maximum size aggregate, you will need a larger container. The container should be built so that air is not trapped in it when the container is submerged. A watertight tank into which the sample container may be placed while suspended below the scale or balance. And last, a number 4 sieve. Obtain a sample of aggregate in accordance with ASTM method D75, sampling aggregates. Thoroughly mix the aggregate sample and reduce it to the approximate quantity needed using the appropriate procedure described in ASTM method C702, reducing field samples of aggregate to testing size. The minimum weight of test sample to be used is given on this chart from the standard. As shown, the minimum weight of the aggregate increases as the nominal maximum size of aggregate increases. All material passing a number 4 sieve by dry sieving should be rejected. Remove dust or other coatings from the surface by washing. Dry the test sample to constant weight at a temperature of 230 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 9 degrees. Allow the test sample to cool in air at room temperature for 1 to 3 hours or until it is comfortable to handle. Immerse the cooled aggregate in water at room temperature for a period of 24 hours plus or minus 4 hours. This allows the water to fill the pores of the aggregate. After the 24-hour soaking period, remove the test sample from the water and place it on a large absorbent cloth. Dry the surface of the aggregate by rolling it in the cloth until all visible water is removed. Fans or blowers may be used to assist drying. Wipe large particles individually to make sure all surface moisture has been removed. Complete the surface drying before the water has a chance to evaporate from the aggregate pores. Immediately after the test sample has been surface dried, weigh the test sample to the nearest 0.5 gram or 0.05% of the sample weight, whichever is greater. The weight of our saturated surface dry test sample is 6,957 grams. Immediately after weighing, place the test sample into the sample container to determine its weight in water at 73.4 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 3 degrees. The container and sample should be completely immersed during weighing. Shake the submerged container to remove all entrapped air before weighing. With the scale or balance adjusted to compensate for the immersed weight of the container, the test sample weighs 4,331 grams in water. Remove the test sample from the water tank and dry it to constant weight at a temperature of 230 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 9 degrees. Let the dried test sample cool in air at room temperature 1 to 3 hours or until it is comfortable to handle. The weight of the oven-dried test sample in air is 6,854.5 grams. To calculate for bulk-specific gravity, divide the weight of the oven-dry test sample in air, 6,854.5 grams, by the weight of the saturated surface dry sample in air, 6,957 grams, minus the weight of saturated test sample in water, 4,331 grams. The bulk-specific gravity, oven-dry, of our test specimen is 2.61. Bulk-specific gravity based on the oven-dry weight of the aggregate is used when aggregate is dry or assumed to be dry. Bulk-specific gravity, saturated surface dry, is used if the aggregate is wet, that is, if water fills the pores of the aggregate. To calculate for bulk-specific gravity, saturated surface dry, divide the weight of the saturated surface dry sample in air, 6,957 grams, by the saturated surface dry weight in air, 6,957 grams, minus the weight of the saturated test sample in water, 4,331 grams. The bulk-specific gravity, saturated surface dry of our test specimen is 2.65. Absorption can be found by taking the weight of saturated surface dry test sample in air, 6,957 grams, minus the weight of oven-dry test sample in air, 6,854.5 grams, and dividing this by the weight of oven-dry test sample in air, 6,854.5 grams. Multiply by 100 for percent. The percent absorption of our test sample is 1.5. When reporting the results of these tests, remember to report specific gravity to the nearest 100th and indicate the type of specific gravity, whether bulk or bulk saturated surface dry. Report absorption to the nearest 0.1%. Note in your report if the specific gravity and absorption values were determined without first drying to constant weight at 230 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 9 degrees.